Ooh, the Karen Read retrial. If you didn't follow the first Karen Read trial, okay, and you're not following this one, the retrial, we're on day 6 of the Karen Read retrial. And not only did the Cellbrite forensic expert testify for the last day and a half, Jennifer McAbe is up on the stand, y'all. Look. Directly after Ian Whiffen, the Cellbrite expert, testified about the Google searches on Jennifer McAbe's cell phone and how they were not done at 2:30 a.m. They were actually done after 6 a.m. and because Karen Read asked her to. I don't know. I'm just going to keep saying it. I have a very unpopular opinion, but if you want me to believe that this is a conspiracy theory, and I love conspiracy theories, I really love tossing them around, thinking about them, dissecting them, analyzing them, especially when it comes to my favorite genre of true crime. But you know what? For me to believe that a conspiracy is not only plausible, but possible, let alone enough to prove to me that it's reasonable, that it could be reasonable doubt. You have to prove to me that all those people that conspired not only colluded perfectly for 3 years, but that they knew each other and they didn't. That they not only knew each other, that they worked with each other, that they had means, motive, and opportunity. And that's just lacking here. So Law and Crime on YouTube did a poll. They have been live streaming every day of the retrial. And this retrial is not going to be a repeat of the first trial. You think it is, but it is not. And the reason why is because Karen Read has done not only 3 documentaries and interviews, she did the entire 5-episode, 1 hour each episode documentary, the whole docu-series with the ID Network. They don't need to get Karen Read on the stand testifying in her own defense, which she won't anyway. But she goes on to say in the ID Network documentary, verbatim, quote, "This is me testifying. This is me saying what actually happened," unquote. And you know what's really funny about that? If that was the case in her first trial, she would have testified in her own defense. However, any good attorney is going to tell you not to do that. Absolutely not to do that. The defense has been extremely good at trying to throw Jennifer McAbe under the bus. Jennifer McAbe, if you didn't know, was at the bar with them the night before at C.F. McCarthy's, then at the Waterfall. It was her sister and brother-in-law who owned the house at 34 Fairfield. It was her nephew who was having a birthday party that night. And she's the one who was friends with the Boston police officer, JohnOKeefe, who was dating Karen Read for over 2 years at this point. And remember, they had dated before. So yeah, conspiracy theories. I love them just as much as the next girl or guy, but I'm not buying it in this case because not only Occam's razor, the most logical solution is usually the most probable solution. Now, there is a 0.1% that aliens fell out of the sky and did this to JohnOKeefe. But is that logical? Is that probable? Absolutely not. It's preposterous. It's absurd. It doesn't make any sense. So when it comes to reasonable doubt, we can sit here and say it's a conspiracy that this is a frame job, but they had absolutely no means, motive, or opportunity to frame Karen Read, to nail her, and to actually prosecute her because all of the evidence was pointing to her and only her. It was her car that hit him. It was her broken taillight that was embedded into his clothing. She's the one who was driving intoxicated. She's the one that was at the bar with him on footage at C.F. McCarthy's and then the Waterfall. She's the one who physically took JohnOKeefe's body in her vehicle from the Waterfall Bar and Grill all the way to 34 Fairfield. She's the one who leaves him there before 1 a.m., goes back to his house, frantically trying to cover up what she had done, and then calls Jennifer McAbe, texting her frantically, saying that she just didn't know what happened to JohnOKeefe. Lying again, trying to say that she left John at the Waterfall, but that's not true because there is CCTV footage from the inside and the outside of C.F. McCarthy's and the Waterfall. We know that JohnOKeefe was in her Lexus SUV and that they left to go to 34. In fact, Jennifer McAbe seen them arrive. But of course, with the severe snowstorm that was happening, with it being dark already, with it being so late, she sees their car pull up and they never come in. She had no idea that her friend was out there being hit by his girlfriend's car and left there to die. No idea. So what's the most logical and probable? JohnOKeefe did not know the Alberts. Yeah, he might be a law enforcement officer. Brian Higgins is the ATF officer. They don't even work at the same law enforcement agency. So that's absurd to sit here and say that this was a frame job. They didn't even know Karen Read. They have no means, motive, or opportunity to want to not only take the life of a police officer, but to frame his girlfriend for it. That's absurd. It is completely different this time. And the reason why, her defense team and Karen Read were only worried about getting paid that $120,000, getting paid the $80,000, getting paid the $25,000 for doing the ABC, the 2020, the ID Network documentary. They were not actually considering the fact that those are fully admissible in the court of law now in her retrial. They don't have to get Karen Read on the stand to actually defend herself or to testify and then be cross-examined by the prosecution, because now they have those interviews and that docuseries to be able to say, but look what she said. Look what she said here. Look what she said here. And much like Amber Heard or Gypsy Rose, she very sociopathically and narcissistically does the whole word salad thing. I wasn't drunk, I only had 4 and I wasn't buzzed. Says in a whole different interview, it was about 7, 4, maybe 2, maybe 5. But then she knows that there is CCTV footage from the 90 minutes at CF McCarthy's and the 2 hours they spent at the Waterfall Bar and Grill. And she knows that they have the receipts, these exact receipts. So not only do they have her on video, they actually have JohnOKeefe's receipts from both CF McCarthy's and the Waterfall. They know that Karen Read drank 9 drinks. So she goes on in 4 different documentaries and or interviews to say 4 completely different things. And if you haven't seen it on my YouTube channel, I did an entire deep dive on that, and I totally broke that down for you and showed you exactly how narcissists and sociopaths work. They literally try to confuse you and bog you down mentally and emotionally to where you just give up, to where you just don't even want to listen anymore. You don't even want to hear it, because she in her mind knows she's guilty. That's how you can eliminate or deduce that the person that is guilty versus somebody who's just fundamentally telling the truth, telling the recollection. But the thing is, JohnOKeefe and Karen Read were in a car, her car. They went to 34 Fairfield. Something clearly happens. Her taillight is broken. It's not somebody else's taillight that's broken in his body, in his clothing. It's not anybody else's cup that cut him. The cup from the Waterfall that he had taken with him. Inside of Karen Read's car. She goes back to his house, and not even 4.5 hours later, she's calling everybody, texting everybody, frantically trying to find John. It's my opinion, and it's an unpopular opinion, that she is very clearly guilty. And not only is she guilty, she knows she's guilty, and she knows what she did. And she may not think that this is second degree, but it's a police officer. So yeah, just a private citizen, a regular pedestrian, when you're behind the wheel of a vehicle and you are intoxicated by alcohol and you are incapacitated, you know you're not supposed to be driving. You made that choice anyway. You're guilty. You're responsible, no matter what. You end up taking somebody's life, you're still guilty and you're still responsible, no matter what you remember or don't remember. If you are doing dumb things like that, then don't drink. But I think there's a very good chance that the outcome of this trial is going to actually come through with what it really should be. The reflection of what really happened and actually finding justice for JohnOKeefe. Because at the end of the day, you can't show a conspiracy unless you prove that these people all knew each other and that they had the means and motive and opportunity to not only take somebody else's life, but to frame Karen Read before the incident happened, not after it happened. It has absolutely nothing to do with the fact that Karen Read still did exactly what she did. And I highly suggest you pay attention to the words, because those words mean everything. It's not always all of the things that they're saying in word salads. It's the things that they're not saying. And what Karen Read is not saying is the truth of what she really did. At the end of the day, this was a man, a father, and a police officer whose life was tragically taken by the one woman who was supposed to love him the most, his girlfriend, Karen Read. Justice for John.